And France is summoning US Ambassador Charles Kushner to protest comments made by the Trump administration over the death of a far-right activist, Quentin Deranque. Deranque dying of brain injuries last week after being attacked in the French city of Lyon. He was assaulted during a fight on the margins of a student meeting where a far-left MP was the keynote speaker. The French government's move is a reaction to a statement by the State Department's Counter-Terrorism Bureau. It posted on X that violent radical leftism is on the rise, and its role in Deranque's death demonstrates the threat it poses to public safety. Joining me now is Clovis Casali, our France 24 senior reporter, who is also covering the protests by the far right in Lyon over the weekend. First of all, do we know, Clovis, if the American ambassador is going to attend the meeting later today in Paris?
Well, I asked the question. I asked the French Foreign Office, and they simply replied, well, we won't communicate more than on the statement that we asked him, we summoned him at 7 p.m., which tends to indicate that they probably don't know if Charles Kushner will be going to the Quai d'Orsay to meet with the French government there. Why? Because last August, he was summoned over a different case. At the time, he criticized France for not doing enough to combat anti-Semitism. France was furious. Very sensitive topic here in France. So they summoned the US ambassador and he decided not to turn up. He decided to stay in Provence where he was on holiday. France see the latest comments from the Trump administration as a clear interference in national affairs. Bear in mind also you have Giorgia Meloni, the Italian French far right Italian leader, commenting on the death of Quentin, who was killed during clashes between far-right militants and far-left militants. Well, she said that the death of Quentin was bringing lots of sadness to the whole of Europe. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, reacted quite angrily, saying, mind your own business, focus on what's going on in your country. Why did he react in such a way? Because France is convinced that nationalist governments in the US, but also in Europe, would like to influence future ballots here in France. And unacceptable, of course. Donald Trump has always made it clear that he favors far-right candidates like Nigel Farage in the UK, Marine Le Pen in France. Yesterday, the French Foreign Minister, Jean-Noël Barrot, talked about this latest interference from the Trump administration, saying that Paris doesn't have to be lectured by other governments, but also that doesn't have to be lectured by what he calls the international reactionary movement. Take a listen.
We refuse any exploitation of this tragedy, which has left a French family in mourning for political ends. We have no lessons to learn from the reactionary international. As for analyzing political life, the place of violence, and violence more generally, we serve up those insights ourselves with quite enough verve, and we will not allow others to serve them to us.
And all of this happening, Clovis, after the far-right protests were held in Lyon over the weekend, which you covered.
Absolutely. Authorities now investigating cases of racist abuse and Nazi salutes, but no fights as it was feared. Apart from here and a few other occasions, those are pictures I filmed where you see the people marching from all far-right groups from France and Europe. And there's one far-left supporter turning up with a couple of friends and heckling the crowd. Angry response, insults going from one side to the other. But the security people for the march prevented any major fights. Why? Because they were trying to project the best image possible. They did not want to be portrayed as extremists, even though in this march you had, and you can see it from this picture, people from all ages, but also some known far-right groups, some former members of groups that were dissolved, banned following violence. And even though the organisers had called not to wear any balaclavas or or show any controversial tattoos, you still did have some people wearing masks, but no major clashes between French far-right supporters and French far-left supporters as it was feared. Again, Quentin dying during fights between both sides a few days ago, and still very much in the spotlight here in France.
Indeed, Clovis